Atari video computer system is 20 cartridges with 1,300 game variations you play on your own TV set.
You can't keep me in here, Atari.
Don't tonight. Play it.
Hey guys, the amazing Atari Aficionado here, and welcome to another episode. So, it's been a little while since I recorded a new episode. Henceforth, this is a new episode. I figured I'd just jump right into it. Don't really have a particular theme for this episode. I've just acquired some more Atari kind of manuals and just cool Atari things to show you guys. So, first off, I figured I would start with the new game pickups, the new Atari games that I recently acquired. So I got some M Network games, of course. I got Super Challenge Football, because I did not have it and I needed it. And I got Super Challenge Baseball. So, just like I had said before, possibly in an earlier Atari Aficionado video, I was not planning on collecting any of the sports titles in the Atari 2600 library, but now I'm getting bit by the collector's bug and I kind of want as much of the library as I can. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get a complete library, but I'm going to try my best to get as many as I can, and I needed these, so I picked them up. Obviously, these are made by Mattel. Nothing really particularly special about these games. They're just a series of sports games that Mattel had released. There was dozens of baseball games and football games and basketball games and hockey games and whatnot on the Atari. So these are just more of those. Staying in the realm of sports, this is Atari. This is the Atari now. They came out with their Real Sports trademark line of sports games. So this is Real Sports Soccer. Obviously, they did a Real Sports Baseball and a Real Sports Football and all the other sports. The one cool thing about this is in really, really good condition, if you guys can see that. So I love me a crisp, Atari game when I can find them, for sure. Let's take a look here. Alright, so that's it for the sports titles. Now we move into just games that I needed to replace because they were pretty banged up. Unfortunately, I already got rid of the other ones. I kind of traded them away. But my other copy of Berserk was really bad. I'm sure if you go back to one of the earlier episodes, if you're bored and you feel like it, I'm sure you could track down when I showed you guys my copy of Berserk. And then same thing with my copy of Star Raiders. Star Raiders for sure was completely ripped up, completely torn up. Once again, these are some really, really good looking games. Another cool thing to keep in mind with the Star Raiders game, this you actually need the video touchpad to play. You can play it without it, but it makes it a lot harder, and I believe I talked about this game being strange and I didn't quite understand why, and it's because you need the video touchpad. Hopefully I'll be able to acquire one in the future, and if I do, obviously I will revisit this game. So I'm not going to say a lot about that. Berserk, I forget offhand, I think this is sort of like, yeah, this is the game where you're running around shooting aliens, or shooting robots, so to speak. So, very cool cover art on there. Alright, man, and then last, oh, of course, there was one other game here, another Atari game. This is the game Surround. Very strange game, but one cool thing to note with this game is you actually can draw on the screen, and you can do some primitive kind of coloring and writing and stuff like that on your television screen, which was actually a big deal back when this game came out in the 80s. So that is Surrounds. Aside from that, I forget the initial gameplay. like I said, there's like a drawing mode that you can unlock by but it's one of the, there's different versions of the game. I think the very last version is the drawing. You can unlock it. But, yeah, this one's escaping my mind, unfortunately. So, I definitely would like to revisit this one in the future. And then finally, the last game is, I'm going to totally massacre this. I don't know how to say it. Tatanka. This is a Parker Brothers game. I know I have a few other Parker Brothers games. Not many. They're shaped kind of odd. They almost look like spaceships. This is sort of a game where you're moving down through the desert. Did not get a chance to play this. Definitely am going to get around to reviewing this in the future. So just, forewarning for those who are enjoying the show, I will eventually get around to doing reviews of individual games. So, those were the games that I picked up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those. If you have any questions or comments about those games, leave them in the comments below. Now let's get on to the super cool stuff here. So like I said, I'm just going to dive right in. This is just a bunch of Atari related stuff that I have here. So here is Atari Stickers. I actually already put one on my TV. It's always really cool when you come across stuff like this, because a lot of this stuff obviously was used back in the 70s and 80s. So to find Atari stickers that were not used yet is pretty intense. I love the look and the color and the shine and the glossiness. It's just so 70s, it's so Atari. So I thought that was pretty cool. I figured you guys would like that. Here, these are pretty cool. These are Atari warranty cards, if I'm not mistaken. So here is warranty registration card for the controllers. So there is that, and you can obviously tell that it's like faded. And then here is the video computer handheld controllers warranty registration card. So I don't know if this was for something else. Or if these were the same thing. This one looks like it might have been perforated and connected to something else. I'm not entirely sure. But this is pretty cool though, because it actually has like the mailing part is still on here. Obviously, Sunnyvale, California was one of the main, headquarters of Atari Incorporated at the time. And it's just crazy to see this, you know what I mean? Like, back in the day, this was a big deal. Now you can do all this online, and a lot of times companies don't even bother with you registering your product anymore. So, and then I had shown you guys my Atari 2600 in a past episode. I don't know if I had showed you guys this or not, but I figured I'd break it out again. Even if I did, because it's super cool. This is obviously the manual that would have came with the Atari Junior. I guess obviously I could just show it, but here it is, obviously, a little dusty, but it's a beaut. She's a beauty. I love this thing. Very awesome looking, very spaceship looking. Obviously, there's the 90-day warranty cards that are inside. There's two of them here for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why there's two. And then here is, instructions to hook it up and, information on keeping your Atari in good working order. So, just cool stuff all around. So, I figured you guys, for all the Atari fans out there and just fans of neat video game stuff, I figured you guys might like that. Alright, and then here, this is the manual for the black 4-switcher. And this is another cool thing I recently picked up. I don't believe I showed you guys this. And this is just super cool because this is a little bit more in depth. Explaining hooking it up, and troubleshooting, and then on the back here you have the FCC notice, and just, you know, a lot of information, which some might say this is a little bit too much, but I think it's great. You know, they even have maintenance on there, and like it's just crazy, you know. It just gives you a lot of different tips on taking care of your console and making it last. It's kind of unfortunate they just don't have this anymore, but they even have like the troubleshooting checklist. So they have a symptom on the left and then the probable cause and remedy on the right. So that's insane. I mean, can you imagine if PlayStation 4 or Microsoft or, you know, Sony, obviously Sony or Microsoft would include this with their products, you know? That's pretty crazy. So that's awesome. And then obviously I'll show you the 4-switcher. So there it is. There is the Vader model or black model 4-switcher. This was one of the more popular models. This is sort of the one that everybody pretty much had once the 2600, you know, exploded with popularity. This was sort of the one that most Americans or most people probably remember buying or playing at one point or another. So that is that. And it's kind of interesting how, like, with the final one that they did, which was the Junior or the Mini or Slim, whatever you want to call it, they kind of kept that black, sleek black look, but, you know, they added a silver bar, so it was kind of neat. Okay, moving on. I may have shown this before once again. This is the manual for the Woody 4-switcher, as they call it. So obviously similar to that model. The manual, of course. They're almost identically the same. And same thing, they have troubleshooting and how to hook it up to your TV, maintenance, you know, how to play stuff, how to insert game cartridges. So, super awesome. And they even have a parts list on the back in case you need to replace parts. I mean, that's just crazy. Like, they just don't do stuff like this anymore. And I actually got a special treat for you guys. Speaking of the Woody 4-switcher, this is kind of a big deal. I finally acquired the 4-switcher Woody. So now I have both the 4-switcher black model and the 4-switcher wood model. These are essentially identically the same. There's nothing different about either of them, really, other than appearance. The interior is pretty much spot on the same. There really isn't one that was particularly made better than the other. I think they just wanted to come out with sort of a new, sleeker look and kind of drop the whole wood grain look of the 70s and maybe try and do a little bit more of a futuristic, maybe just different looking model. But obviously most of it is black, but the big thing that makes it stand out is that wood paneling right there. Not to mention, you got that kind of orange border going on. Otherwise, everything is exactly the same. I'm a complete lunatic that I even need this, but I guess you can never have enough Atari 2600s in your life. Alright, man, and then couple more cool things here to finish out the show. This is an advertisement for Atari Age, the magazine that came out, obviously, in the 80s. So if you were interested in this, you know, you would fill out the form and, you know, send your check or money order or whatever to Atari, and then you would get these, I believe, mailed to you. And they had all kinds of stuff about tips and how to beat certain games, how to play certain games. Obviously, you'd get free stuff like posters, you'd get coupons, money offers, all kinds of cool stuff. So just really neat that I was able to find this. It's got, you know, the coffee stain or whatever. You know, it just looks old and grimy and gross, and, You know, somehow somebody didn't throw this out, you know, so it's kind of neat to see what, you know, what the world was like. A couple more things here. Speaking of the game that I could not pronounce earlier, Tatanka, I do have the manual for that. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, I'll be able to read through this and figure out how to play the game. So these are always super cool and super handy. I don't believe I had this. This is the manual for Night Driver. I do have Night Driver the game. I did show that in a previous episode. These are just a couple more manuals I don't believe I ever showed. Here I have Sword Quest Earthworld. So I thought that was super cool. And I just love, you know, the artwork inside these. You know, they just put so much color and work and detail into these manuals. You just really don't see stuff like this anymore. So it's just simply mind-blowing here. E.T. the Extraterrestrial, of course. Such an infamous game. I have this game at my store. It gets talked about all the time. So, figured you guys would like seeing that. So, kind of finishing out here, there was one other cool thing that the E.T. game came with. There was actually tips on getting E.T. home fast. See, this is the stuff that nobody ever talks about. And this is actually kind of neat. I can almost make this into a poster on the wall. They actually had tips and actually had, you know, information on how to beat the game and how to play the game and how to control E.T. and things like that and levitating out of the wells. You know, because it was a very tough game, obviously. But if you did not have these things, if you know, because everybody always says, oh, if you didn't have the manual, but, you know, the manuals came with this, like Complete in Box came with this. So this is something that would help you to play the game so it wasn't so challenging, so to speak. So, anyhow, the episode is getting pretty long here, so I'm going to finish up. I'm going to save those manuals for another episode, and then I'll show you these two last things here. So obviously another consumer registration card. This is for the system itself, it looks like. And you would get a free logbook to keep track of your high scores and things like that and what games you beat. I wonder if they're still sending those. I wonder if I fill this out, if I'll actually get a free logbook. So maybe I'll do that. Okay, guys, and then finally, this is pretty cool. A lot of times things like this would be packaged with the games. So I had gone over some ColecoVision games. Obviously like Smurf, Venture, I have that. Donkey Kong, I have that. I have Mousetrap, and I believe I have Carnival. This is essentially just, you know, it shows you the different Coleco games that you could buy and that you could purchase, and it shows the original arcade game next to some of them, which I think is super cool. So obviously there's Donkey Kong and a couple others. So that's pretty much it, guys. You guys really seem to like checking out my Atari stuff and my Atari collection. So, you know, please feel free to leave comments, you know, questions and stuff like that. And I have a lot more stuff to show you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed checking out all of this awesome Atari memorabilia. I am the amazing Atari Aficionado. Until next time.